It's time for the Lesson Tee, presented by Family Golf and Learning Center and our friends at Elevated Performance. And you got a little flash of him, Blake Sharamitaro. Just say it yourself.
Sharamitaro.
Sharamitaro. I'm going to get it. Yesterday, somebody asked me about getting lessons, and I said Blake S. at Family Golf and Learning Center. You can find him, of course, on there. And Blake joins us after playing earlier this week in the National Club Professional Championship, the signature event for club pros. I know you hadn't been playing a lot leading up to going down to Port St. Lucie and playing, but you fared pretty well.
Yeah, no, I played pretty good. Missed the cut by a few, but tough conditions, tough golf courses. I know a lot of those pros have played those courses a lot over the years. I've played the Wanamaker a good amount, but had never even played the Ryder course leading up to that event. So, it's hard. You're not playing a lot of golf. You go down there and you feel like you got to cram to get your game ready. But at the end of the day, if you're going to try to play 4 rounds and 3 rounds of practice rounds, you got to make sure you're physically able to do it too. So I didn't overload myself on the practice rounds. I only played 9 holes more of the day. And we rode carts this year, which is new. They usually always have to walk with caddies, but with COVID and different things, they were allowing some carts. But, it was a good event. The PGA runs it like a major. They run it like a championship. It's set up very, very difficult. I think the second round on that Ryder course, I think probably 14 or 15 of the pins were within about 4 paces from the edge of the green somewhere. So they set it up tough, that's for sure.
Well, as I told you, you beat a lot more guys than beat you, which is always good. We have not talked a lot on the Lesson Tee about putting. We've had a couple of questions from viewers. I just want to, and you told me before we came on, you had a real good putting round one of the days down there. What are your key principles putting wise that you kind of preach to your pupils?
Whether it's basically a beginner lesson, an experienced player, whatever it might be, I base all of my putting instruction on, basically 3 things. I basically say there's the top 3 things. One is, can you read the green? Can you tell which way the ball is going to roll? Is it uphill, downhill, whatever it is? You could have a great stroke, be a great putter, and if you can't read the green, sorry, man.
It's all right. We should also mention Blake is down at Disney World, so
yeah, we're heading to SeaWorld here in a little bit.
There you go.
So anyway, sorry, top 3 things. Reading greens, right? And that is an educated guess for everybody. I always tell people you can play the same golf course every day of your life and never necessarily know exactly where the ball is going to break. So whoever, the really good caddies, the really good players, they can have a very good educated guess and probably get it pretty close. But in general, can you read the green? 2 is, can you roll it on that line, right? If you think the ball is going to break 2 inches right, can you get the ball to take off 2 inches left every time? And that's really where the alignment, the stroke, the fundamentals come in. So if you have an actual issue with your stroke, that's where you want to be working on it. And then 3, which is I always preach the most important, is speed control. You could have great alignment. You could read the green great. And if you can't get that putt within 4 or 5 feet, you're long or short all day long. Probably the first 2 things don't even matter. So I preach and personally always focus on speed way more than anything else.
So you think pace more than anything determines line of putt?
Absolutely. The slower the ball is rolling, the more it's going to break. So I've never been a super aggressive putter where I'm going to blast it 4 feet past every time. So I'm typically playing more break than probably some people do. But I think that's a great focus for pros and amateurs, because whether it's a pro-am or playing with buddies or whatever it is, we see people under-reading putts all the time. So play a ton of break. Try to get that ball to cozy up next to the hole. Don't be so focused on sort of trying to make the putt. I kind of use the example a lot. I ask people if they've played billiards, pool, and they say, of course I have. And it's sort of the same object, right? Hit a ball in a hole. Well, you have bumpers on a billiards table. You can hit that thing as hard as you possibly want. It's not going off the table for the most part. In golf there's nothing to stop that ball. So, I mean, you have to get that ball to end up next to the hole, every single time. I don't see a lot of people missing 4 feet left or right all that much, but I see them hitting 4 feet long or short the entire round. So, if your first putt was cozied up next to their 2-3 inches from the hole, you'd never 3-putt.
And I was going to ask you about longer putts, but it goes back to what you were talking about with pace determining line. So many times you see a guy hit a putt that comes up, if he's 30 feet away and he comes up 10 feet short, he may have been dead on line, but because of the lack of pace, he's left himself another weird putt to try and save a 2-putt.
Yeah. I mean, if somebody is really off on their alignment or consistently hitting way left or right, I mean, somewhat people can try to figure that out on their own, and there's no easy way to hit that ball the perfect pace. You got to practice it. You got to get there early and see what the greens are doing that day. Are they fast, slow, wet? And then you gotta be altering the middle, the whole round. If you start and the greens are wet and then it dries out, you got uphillers, downhillers. I mean, it just always is varying. I always think it's tough when you start a round of golf with an extremely uphill or downhill putt, like on the first hole, because it doesn't give you a great feel for what the speed of the greens are. So if you're lucky enough to have a fairly flat, 15, 20, 30 footer on the first hole and you roll it with good speed, you're probably all right for starting out that round.
Without giving out too much information, because we want people to come see you and get a lesson from Blake, do you have a drill or a tip, a putting tip that maybe somebody could try and see if that helps?
You mean like for speed control?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, there's different things you can do. I did it with a student, 2 weeks ago. We were doing a long putting lesson. And so we were about 20 feet from the hole and we rolled the first putt. We rolled it about 5 feet. And then his next putt had to go past that one. And the next putt past that. And you're basically trying to see in that maybe 15 or 20 foot putt, how many balls you can get to stop past the further one, in sequential order. And so if you can get 7 or 8 balls to stop before the hole, you're not really trying to make a putt with that drill. You're just trying to work on speed control. You're basically trying to inch each ball closer and closer to the hole. And, people can start to figure it out pretty good.
And I think we both know how individualized putting is. I mean, I could ask you what type of putter somebody should use. You could give me some thoughts on that. I mean, but I think that, a lot of putting is within and your own feel and sense. And if you don't necessarily play enough or practice enough, it's hard to expect too much from your putting, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, it's the most individualistic part of the game by far. You could set up there's all kinds of different grips. You can arm lock putter, long putter, short putter. There's all kinds of different ways to do it. And at the end of the day, if you can read it well, if you can roll it on that line and have good speed, the rest doesn't matter. And like you said, if you're not playing much, your touch, your feel really isn't going to be all that good. And even for like a club pro like myself, if we're not playing much and we go to an event like, the one down here, you're trying to get your feel right away, whether it's chipping, pitching, putting, whatever it might be. You try to relax as much as possible, try to feel that golf club, the pace of the golf club, being consistent. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of feel with putting, much more than I think, trying to rip a driver or something like that.
And my last putting question, before I get to a couple of questions from viewers for you. How I was told if you can, and I'm talking about shots around the green, maybe right in front of the green, fringe, that type of thing. If you can get a putter on it, you should use a putter. That sometimes people force chips. How would you tell somebody the old Texas wedge, if you will, the putter around the green, or nowadays, as we see has become so in vogue, the hybrid or the 5-wood?
Yeah, I love the hybrid. I actually practiced that before coming down here. If the conditions were wet, I would have probably done that. I think you're right, though. I mean, you try to get the putter in your hand as soon as you can. I think the only thing that can determine that a little bit differently is maybe condition of the golf course. And so, I mean, if you're playing a really phenomenally well-maintained golf course, yeah, you can putt from 5-6 feet out. But, if it's bumpy or it's not super smooth, that hybrid, the 7-iron, something like that, still could make your same putting stroke. But that little bit of loft can kind of pick that ball off the ground a little bit. Down here in Port St. Lucie, I had multiple times where I was sort of short-sided down up over a ridge, and I putted it because it was so tightly mown, and the turf was just very smooth. But I mean, I could have used a hybrid or something as well. But yeah, just keep the ball on the ground as much as you can, even when it's time to chip. That 8 or 7-iron, keep it low. I always preach to my students, we're only trying to hit it high when we have to. Whether you're trying to get spin, loft, over a bunker, over a mound, something like that. Otherwise, a lot of the best chippers and pitchers of the ball, it's a fairly low shot. And you can still spin the low ones. It doesn't mean it has to roll out like crazy. But in general, try to keep the ball low.
All right. Sally sent me a Facebook message, and I had John ask me this, basically the same question. And we're back to a common theme that's kind of occurring each and every week with a question. And it's good because then I get to show that. That's Blake's little gal. Junior golf. You guys offer a wide array of ways to get involved. You got camps. You got CYC. You got the junior league. It's a unique situation that's going on. I mean, back when I played, if you weren't a member of a country club, there were a handful of gateway PGA events. Now you've got facilities like your place that's made junior golf a priority. Talk a little bit about what's going on down there, because people are asking me, how do I get my kid involved?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's one of the most important focuses of ours at Family Golf. And we want to be there all the way, every step of the way. So from the beginner fundamentals, 4, 5, 6-year-olds never touched a club, all the way through, the college and better amateur golfers, in the area. So we provide, very easy entry level type programs where we can get the kids involved. We get, more intermediate classes as they get, more and more used to the game and have more fun with it. The junior league is something I wish was around when I was a kid, because, just like you did, we were introduced to team golf in high school. You play individual tournaments your whole life, your junior years, and then boom, high school, you're on a team, college, you're on a team. And so now kids they're getting a sort of a team camaraderie playing with or against other people. Some of these kids are, 6, 7, 8 years old, and they're going to do it for, 8, 9 years before they even get up to high school. So we try to be there again every step of the way. We provide every opportunity we can. We're 100% open to the public. So anyone can come out and use the facility, whether it's just on a daily practice basis or, join one of our programs and see where the game can take you.
Well, and the other thing that you guys have, and it's maxed out, and that's technology. Somebody, Paul from Oakville, wanted to know about how you as a teacher utilize video, and there's so many other things. You got the TrackMan, you got all the different stuff nowadays. I mean, the resources you guys have at Family Golf, you're going to get down to the nuts and bolts of somebody's golf swing.
Yeah, I'm careful with it in my lessons, being too technical with some people and more technical with others. You have to be careful with that. But most people are somewhat visual learners and feel learners, and maybe more of one or the other. But I think everyone's sort of a good mix of both. And so, when you put something like that on a video and say, Tiffany, your left arm is bent at impact and that's causing some issues, and then 2 swings later, the one on the left's happening. There's no doubt in my mind that video helps. So, feel versus real in golf is so different for a lot of people, for almost all people. And so the video, the TrackMan, the body track, all that stuff just working together just provides the best golf lesson you can possibly have, really.
And our last question, and it's not necessarily an instruction question, came from Tom. And Tom wanted to know, What can we do about slow play? And you and I, we both know this better than anybody. I wish we had slow play at Sullivan. I hope someday we do. We need more play to get slow play.
Yeah.
But it's an issue. When I was out at Gateway, I mean, when you put 230 players on a golf course on a Saturday, it's tough. I mean, I think number one is keep up with the group in front of you is a pretty good start.
Yeah, I mean, that's the name of the game. And what you always will hear, as you know, is, yeah, but Jay, there's no one behind us. We're not holding anybody up, right? And you always say, it's don't worry about them. We're working on them. It's always the people in front of you. And you're absolutely right. I mean, if you can stay with a group in front of you, look, when you teed off on the first hole, they were on the first green. If you can keep that right there, you're never going to have an issue. And so I don't think it's an issue of overloading golf courses. I mean, at the end of the day, if you can keep up, but the difficulty of the setup, conditions, cart path only, things like that, they all sort of play a role in it. And so, a lot of the times the really busy days, the cart path only days, because it's wet, I mean, that's the day it's going to be the worst pace of play. But yeah, I mean, keep up with the group in front of you, leave the pin in, be ready to hit whenever it's your turn, bring extra clubs. I think that's a huge one. We were cart path only down here in Port St. Lucie all week. And so that was a big one, carrying 4 or 5 clubs at one point, because I didn't know where my ball was. It was up over a mountain. I brought 8 golf clubs with me. I should have brought my bag. But, that's guys and girls that are pros that understand it, that they're not going to walk back and forth from the cart all day. So bring what you need, be ready to hit. I think that play ready golf thing is very important, though, because there's a lot of standing around waiting for the furthest out person to go. And at the end of the day, it's just hit if no one's in the way and you're ready to go.
Well, good playing down in Port St. Lucie. Enjoy SeaWorld and have a safe trip back to St. Louis, and we'll talk to you soon. And get out and see Blake. Get out and see the crew. I mean, they have put not only, and I was thinking about this when when you look at the fact that they got Bobby G, who also played in the Club Pro down with Blake at Port St. Lucie, and Sidorchik. I mean, if you want a cash game, maybe they'll play that little par 3 over there. I'd put my money on that crew. That's a pretty strong playing crew. Have a great trip back to St. Louis, and thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Jay. Thanks for having me.